Welcome to B-Rated, B-Rated Conversations. Join us as we talk to the creative people behind the independent movies and get the behind-the-scenes stories. This week, Brian and I talked to Steve Rudzinski, director of the CarousHELL trilogy and the Shingles Movie. He talked about making a trilogy of films that spanned a decade and making the Shingles Movie based off the book series. We hope you enjoy this conversation. Okay, so but yeah, like the one that like was most interesting to me, it's like with sorry, my son is dumping things out in the background.
As he should.
Yes, he's very very toddler. Was like the Fangoria Awards. A lot of that, it felt very like scripted, very measured, and then we get the best Amityville thing, and it felt like this is part of a different award show, and they kind of like looped it in. It was really fun.
Thank you. Yeah, once I realized my opportunity that I had, I mean, you know, for those of my fans that know me well, you know, if you're listening to this, you're not one of my fans. I really love Christmas. It means a lot to me. Even as a very much a non-Christian, I'm not a Gentile. But I've always loved the holiday. It means a lot to me. And especially that monologue from Scrooged makes me cry every time. Like, that is the perfect representation of why I love the season. So when I was getting the camera put on me, you know, in front of thousands of horror fans around the world, and it was for a Christmas movie, I was like, I gotta ask if this is okay. So I went to the director of the show and I messaged him and I said, hey, you know, this is your show, you know, you're making this, you know, I don't want to mess anything up. I don't want to be like, oh, look at me, and like come off as some sort of dipshit trying to make everything about me. But here's my bit idea. Would this be okay? And the director said, absolutely, that sounds hilarious. So, you know, we get there. He's like, okay, so how far are you going? I'm like, well, I mean, you're the director, so it's your call. I can go all the way. I had the whole speech memorized. I was practicing on the plane flight to Burbank. If they would have let me go, I would have went. And it would have been Niagara Falls, Frankie Angel. I'm telling you. But yeah, so, you know, I got introduced. You know, Autumn and I went up there. You know, I told Autumn too, like, hey, this is what's happening. I'll let you go first. Thank who you want to thank, because then I'm just going to go. And then once Michael signals you, you got to fucking just drag me away. And they did a great job at that. Everyone did a great job. It was hilarious. It was fun. And I knew I did a good job because after the fact, crew members came up to me to say, hey, that was really funny, man. And crew members never have a reason to lie to you ever.
Right. I would imagine. Yeah.
So it was good. And then when the show finally aired, it was nice to see a bunch of strangers on Twitter saying like that was my favorite segment, because, you know, I wanted to make people laugh and be like, oh yeah, good for that guy.
Official.
Yeah, it was awesome. Sorry, go ahead, Brian.
Did you walk around with like the award for like the next day or two? Like, you know how like when people win like the Stanley Cup, it's like, I'm gonna walk around all night with this.
Well, the award on the show is a default award that everyone holds.
Yeah, right. They don't have to mail you yours.
Yes, they had to mail me mine. It took about a month. You know, I got the award before the award show aired, and I had to just sit on that silently for weeks. I was losing my mind.
Oh.
But then, yeah, I just kept walking around with it. I took photos with it. I posted them all. And, you know, now I'm already putting in my trailers from Fangoria Chainsaw award-winning director Steve Rudzinski, because I'm a carny. I know what I am.
There it is. No, I think it was, yeah, when I was, I must have been like 9 years old when I won like this tournament, right? And I ended up having to fight one of my friends to win the tournament, and I won and he didn't. And so I remember just putting the fucking gold medal on and riding my bike around the neighborhood. And he was so fucking pissed. He's like, you're not even supposed to like show that off. And I was like, don't be mad. I'm like, just because I won and you didn't. But yeah, like looking back at it, I should have kicked the shit out of that little kid and been like, what are you doing wearing a gold medal around your neck, riding around a bike? Like, get the hell out of here. Yeah.
I seem to keep winning first ever awards. Seems to be my thing.
There you
First,
go.
there was a new horror convention called Gross Fest, run by a horror critic named Tim Gross and Tom Gross, his brother. And it was the first ever show, and I was the first ever award winner for the Gross Fest Lifetime Achievement Award for my career up to this point. And then Pittsburgh, you know how cities have their best of awards in like their local papers or something.
Yes.
They introduced the Thirst Trap Award, and then I ended up being the first ever #1 male thirst trap of Pittsburgh. I have a championship belt for that. So I wore that to conventions for about a year and just kept on acting like it was, like the top title in the industry.
You just got it too.
Yeah. And then now the Amityville Award, I'm the first ever award winner for Best Amityville. And like, if they don't bring it back, I'm the only winner ever. And if they do keep doing it, I'm still cemented as like the first ever person to make the Best Amityville. But if they don't give the award again, the award just says Best Amityville. It doesn't say of 2023. So I will continue pretending as if I've made the Best Amityville according to Fangoria. Sorry, original. Sorry, shirtless Ryan Reynolds.
Sucks to be you.
Like the Highlander of Amityville's.
Right.
There can only be one.
I make some pretty shitty bookshelves if you ever want me to come over there and start building shelves for some, good awards.
Perfect, thank you.
They'll probably fall on the ground though, because like I said, I'm not the greatest carpenter.
I would respect the effort.
Just end up going to IKEA and buying one of those ones. Be like, you know what? As much money as it was to fly out here, and then we're just going to end up going to IKEA anyways. Like, God damn it. Yes.
But so we've sort of reached is this the conclusion of CarousHELL, or is this like with the first three, or is this a continuation, like leaving openings for a continuation?
I think that's a very fair question. The answer is very much this can be the conclusion.
Okay.
If fans, we have ideas for the future. This is not definitely the last CarousHELL. We have ideas for the future. If these keep doing well and the fans keep wanting them, we can make more stories, and it's stories that we do have and we would tell. But, if life takes me in a different direction, if 3 doesn't do as well or fan interest goes down, I wanted to make sure that 3 did feel like an ending for the franchise, for the characters, for these arcs, so that if there isn't another one, you don't feel that twinge of what if.
Well, yeah.
That's why I like the post-credit scene of this. Some people are reading too much into it when it's really just a joke.
Robbie being that buff space dude?
Okay, spoilers, I guess. Future Robbie is it's just meant to be like this gag, and it's that question of, is he just daydreaming because he's a child, or is he seeing the future like Usagi actually says once earlier in the movie?
Mm-hmm.
But even if we made sequels, that's not part 4. You know what I mean? Like, that would be part 9 or 10 if we ever did that insanity.
But yeah, it was really cool though. Like, I mean, it's because there are those movies that are really good that are just we had this idea, so we made this, and then we threw this on top of it for a sequel. Whereas this trilogy kind of felt like there was always an idea ahead of the idea you were at. And we were always headed in some direction with these. And I like that nothing feels like, wait, what? Like, there's no weird character decisions.
I really appreciate that. That's something that we felt strongly for these movies. I mean, like, Aline is always on the same page with me when it comes to this, but like, we like sequels that are just the same thing. We like sequels that are actual, like, direct continuations. Give us, I don't want to say Friday the 13th because that actually is decent continuity in the first several. But, like a standalone slasher sequel movie that you could just watch by itself and have, it doesn't matter, there's no continuing characters, there's no continuing stories, versus, oh no, this is very much part 2. If you watch this without watching 1, good luck. And that's what we like. More than her, I don't want to speak on her behalf too much, but she never disagreed with me. And we always wanted this series to actually have like some themes and some messages, and this character and story arc. We have had the trilogy planned as a basic concept since we first wrote CarousHELL 1 in 2014. Like, we knew what the sequel was going to be about: Duke raising his son and fighting the Nazis that created him. We didn't have the script written. I'm not going to make that claim, but like, we knew that was the plot of part 2 before we even finished shooting part 1. And then with part 3, she and I always talk, like, part 3 has to be about consequences. We need to see that what happens after you do a terrible thing and then change your ways, but the terrible thing doesn't go away. The only big change, honestly, from like our original story ideas was the initial concept of 3 was it was going to be a team of killer objects hunting Duke down, so then Duke has to fight multiples of them. But that didn't really jive with the whole consequences idea. So as the fans kept on biting my ass about Joe coming back to fucking life, I thought about it, and I only did it because I came up with the good story concept of it, is that Joe is the personification of the consequences Duke has to face. And Joe like already has showed so much anger in the first movie when he was in a good mood that all of that trauma would make him an insane person, which would be good for comedy, and it would also be good for being like a consistent threat to this killer sentient unicorn. And I'm really glad that came about organically, even though we had the basic plan from the start. That just goes to show, like if we would have made CarousHELL 3 in 2019, it would have been nothing like the CarousHELL 3 I delivered today. Being able to sit on it and simmer with the ideas really helped bring certain things to the surface that we wouldn't have thought of otherwise.
No, it was awesome. Like, I really enjoyed watching how you're saying how it tied it all together. So it was funny. I started watching it. My wife was watching it with me, and so I was trying to explain it to her. I was like, no, damn it. Like, the first one, he was a CarousHELL unicorn. He got all pissed off because his little fat fucker was wiping his boogers on him. And I said, and now he got all pissed and started killing everybody. And so we made it, then like it was one of those ones where it was like, okay, I'm just going to watch it, So, no, I really liked how it did tie them together. Like, it wasn't like any, what do you call it, like loose ends. Then all of a sudden, like, there's a bunch of other movies where all of a sudden somebody gets introduced and then they're there for like 15 minutes and they're gone. You're just like, why'd that person get introduced? It makes no sense at all. Where this one, everything about it, everything was good. Really loved how it all tied together and everything. The story was awesome, man.
Thank you.
But so like as far as your bad guys in this, you have Usagi, you have Joe, who's more of like I don't know. I didn't view him
He's
so
an
much as a bad guy.
antagonist, I'd say, yeah.
Like he's got a grudge, but he's not 100% wrong in how he feels.
Right.
And like I like how it's not just bad guy versus good guy in this. It's like motivation versus motivation. That was really cool. Like everybody feels three-dimensional.
Thank you. Yeah, like that sort of thing. And again, that was just important to me. I was like, is this one more than any other film? I was super obsessed with nailing these themes and symbols that I wanted to touch on, and like the message of forgiveness, but also dealing with the bad that you did. So I wanted to make sure everyone sort of made sense. Like even Ben is basically the opposite side of the same coin Joe is. It's just the difference is that Joe makes that firm statement of I won't hurt an innocent to get to Duke, whereas Ben says if I got to lose a parent, then so does someone else. Like it's completely different paths that want the same destination.
Oh yeah, which the thing that was really cool for me was like the first 15 to 20 minutes is just this Easter egg packed like thing from like the first two. I was like, oh, that's that scene. Oh, that's that scene. And I was like, so it really kind of like forces you to pay attention to the first two if you really want to get the whole experience out of this movie.
Yeah. I that was an idea I had that I did pitch to Aline early on when we were doing the outline. I was like, I think it'd be really fun since we're introducing this new killer carousel object. Let's literally remake CarousHELL 1 except in like 10 minutes. Rapid fire, and then the next 10 minutes is going to be kind of a rehash of CarousHELL 2 with Duke hanging out with Robbie, again getting hot dogs. Oh, but this guy's connected to the last one, and then that's where the things start shifting. Life starts catching up.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I also like that you also threw in some jokes from the first one as well, like the two bros are like, I wish we could die together, bro. and and then
Yeah. We wanted a little bit of fan service for this one. We sometimes I will do that for like one of my anniversary films, but it kind of felt right to do a little fan service for what may be the last CarousHELL for the fans of the original, or 1 and 2. Let's bring it back. Let's bring this whole first circle. It's like poetry. It rhymes.
Yeah, my wife was so confused about the sex scene, and I was like, "You got to have a sex scene." I was like, "You should have seen the one with Duke," and she's just sitting there like in the kitchen, like, "What the hell?" I'm like, "Yeah, trust me." I'm like, something's going to happen right now, and then it goes. No, I thought it was awesome. Like bringing back good old Pete's Pizza.
Mm-hmm.
Has another girl be in it with the 4923,
4239.
God damn
By
it,
now
Brian!
It's only 2 pizzas.
Yeah, that was a bunch of money. But no, I liked how it started out, and it was man.
So the pizza girl, that's Jen instead of Joe. She replaced Joe after he left the company. We actually first met her in a Meowie St. Patrick's Day, or a Meowie Christmas Vacation. If you watch on Tubi, we just find out that the pizza place the cat orders from is Pete's Pizza, and Jen always delivers the pizzas to the cat. And then we saw Jen again in CarousHELL 2 when she's delivering the pretty pizza pie and Otto shoot her away. Completely unplanned, the actress so happened to get a haircut, and now in CarousHELL 3, it looks like she has Joe's hair. So it looks literally like a flipped gender Joe. And I didn't expect it to be that on the nose, but good gosh, am I glad it is.
That no. I think another one besides, all of the one-liners. Anthony and I always joke about, bringing the one-liners back, and you had, there's more dangerous stuff out tonight. Me. And then you're just like, damn. I wrote down, that's what I call bad hair day, and there's like, that's another word. Yes. You had Hoppity Death Day or Hoppy Death Day.
Yeah.
Yes. No. So we're, there's some other funny ones that were in there, but just bringing back the 80s action hero lines too, super awesome with that.
It's always fun to have the puns with the animals, and I think Joe was definitely partially inspired by this gag. I was rewatching the Blade trilogy with like a group of friends. We'd all already seen them, obviously, but it was just like, oh yeah, let's fucking rewatch Blade and do all of them. And we kept on joking that Blade knows he's in a movie like Deadpool, except he's just purposely trying to be really cool for us. Like all the time. He keeps doing shit that makes no logical sense, except if he was trying to show off to the audience. So I took some inspiration from that joke as I was playing Joe in this film.
But again, you also threw in some of those things just like in the first CarousHELL, where if you pay attention to stuff, hopefully, because there was one where I think you picked that vibrator up, just looked at it and then put it in your pocket. You're like, why the hell would you do that? Like, you just found that on the ground. Don't do that. And then, was it the dumb dildo, a.k.a. was it just the Double D? Is that who Double D was?
No, Dee Dee is Detective Duck.
Okay, that's what I thought too, because
that's also Darkwing Duck's nickname.
Oh, that's
right, yeah.
So that's because after he got stabbed.
In the CarousHELL 3 prologue on the Blu-ray or on Steve Buster, Detective Duck does say, "Let's get dangerous."
Yes. And then even paying attention, like when Duke was looking for Robbie, like the first place he looked was inside of a toilet. You're like, I'm pretty sure that you'd know if a big, huge horse was inside of a toilet, man. Like,
always the first place to check.
The fridge.
You don't know because you don't have kids, man.
Right? That's just somehow. Where did that kid go? Better check the toilet first.
There is a 0% chance that could happen.
It's always.
I am prepared to be shocked. So
it's always like you see those horror photos, and like thankfully, we never ended up getting one of those horror photos where like the kid has just completely destroyed a big old Costco-sized thing of peanut butter, and it's all over the couch and the walls and themselves and everything. They're just like, I only left him alone for 1 minute. And you're like, no, you didn't. There's no way that kid can make that big of a mess in 1 minute. But
but I like the story in this one. I think was really like I think you've been kind of building to this from the first one where it was more of a minimalist story, and we're just following we're following Duke and on his killing spree, and now we're getting to this like universe of characters that has converged in one place for this epic battle, and it felt like all these story pieces were important.
Anthony, are you safe?
I am safe. I'm very safe. Like we're just converging in one place for this big, huge, epic story. And I was like, I haven't seen a kill in like 25 minutes, but I'm not complaining. Don't
see. That's always the hope, and that makes me really happy to hear you or someone hear that. Because I mean, I still get reviews for CarousHELL 2 on like Letterboxd that are literally, this movie sucks because there's not enough killing. Like, we just wanted jokes and kills, man. Like the first movie. It's just like, I wouldn't have fucking made the movie.
Exactly.
No. So it does. I do appreciate, when folks, like Anthony and Brian here actually understand that I was going for, an actual story and a message to tell. And like, how did we get from now you have a carousel ride in hell from the first movie to Joe saying, I forgive you, with tears in his eyes. How do we get from A to ZZ?
It was.
Oh yeah.
Also, I mean, we always look for the PSAs and the movies as well. And I like the fact that you don't have to be a police officer to be like, oh, I was going to retire tomorrow, and then you die. You never make it to retire. Just like the delivery girl in this one this time. She's like, oh, it was my last day. And you're just like, damn, call out. That's the PSA. It's your last day of work, call out. Do what Michael Scott did. Remember, Michael Scott kept telling everybody, I'll see you tomorrow. I'll see you tomorrow. But then he dipped that night. See? What if they were planning to assassinate him tomorrow? Leave that day. Don't go to your last day of work. All right?
That's the lesson. That's definitely the most important lesson from Carousel 3.
Not about forgiveness.
But yeah, it was definitely Elaine and I definitely wanted to introduce more and more of the world with each film. Obviously we already were planting the seeds with Cowboy Cool and the Nazi name drops in the first film, and like so many people were like, "Who the hell was Cowboy Cool? What are the Nazis?" And like some people refuse to believe that like we had that planned, and I don't know how. Like sure, we didn't know what the acronym mascot stood for yet. I'm not going to claim that, but like we knew it was a team of Loomises that all have their own problem to worry about. And the Nazis get introduced in 2, but it's that sort of thing of doing it the one step at a time. So with 2, we introduce Duke's creators, the fact that they're Nazis, the Dark God connection, and establishing that there are multiple killer objects in the world, but Duke was the only volunteer. Okay. And of course, Robbie. And then in 3, you're already signed on for Robbie. You're already signed on for the power of the dark gods in these bodies. You understand that magic aspect. Okay, well, here's one of the volunteers now eating the other ones for more of that dark magic. And also, Joe from the first film is back because he has joined the organization that Cowboy Cool is from. And here's 2 more mascot characters in this movie. Because if you're still watching part 3, you fucking understand what we're doing.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Like it was one of those. Sorry, Brian. Go ahead.
No, I was about to say if you're watching 3 before you watch number 1, why? I mean, go for it. But then you're just gonna have so much better if you do watch it in order.
There will be someone that sees 3 first.
Yeah. I think I've only had that problem twice, and that was when I had to get instructions on which one to watch first. When I would get movies from people to talk to them.
Yeah.
Because there was like the backwards ones. I think it was the third Saturday in October. You watch part 5 before you watch part 1, and then there's which one was it? The Once and Future Smash and End Zone 2.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like it was like that one I watched backwards because I watched the End Zone 2 first, and I was like, wait, what? It stopped? Hold on. Did I miss something? And then you watch the other one, and you're like, okay, I'm done.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, what was it? Endgame. I watched that one first. I was like, wait a second. Iron Man's dead? Hold on. No.
But Okay, so with like and the other movie I kind of wanted to jump in a little bit on was Shingles.
Wait, hold on. Wait. Before Shingles, sorry to cut you off.
Yeah, go ahead.
While we're still on the Blu-ray of CarousHELL 3, what's up with the music video, man? When you go into the extras, good extras area. I
Oh,
saw
thank
that
you.
music video and everything like that because like you start playing that music video at the end of it, and I was like, "Did they just put Steve's name in that music video?" Then you
Yeah,
go
he
back.
did.
Yep,
I
there's
did not
that music
realize that.
video right
Yeah, that
there.
was done by Poltergeist OD. You can look him up on YouTube. He's a really talented rapper that does a lot of horror movie raps. You know, like
Hmm.
not licensed, like he would sing about the Killer Clowns or Chucky and Texas Chainsaw Massacre, stuff like that. And I dug his bars. Like, it was pretty good. I'm a rap fan. Can't you tell,
As
fellas?
everybody should be.
Um, but I liked what he did, and like I was like, okay, so he's into the genre. And then I also noticed he was a fan of CarousHELL already. So we talked a little bit back and forth, you know, just like on Facebook, and then I reached out and said, hey, would you be open to doing a CarousHELL theme song for the third movie? Because I haven't had a rap yet. I've had all these other music genres, but I haven't had a horror rap yet. So am I really a horror film director franchise? Um, and he super agreed to it. Apparently, this was a dream for him to always have one of his songs in the end credits of a horror movie, and he already likes these movies, so it flowed together really well. And I could tell he was a fan with like the references he dropped in the music video.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like the way that he got Ilsa in there, or you know, the first line of the music video is the first line Duke speaks. It's the first line of CarousHELL. And that's beautiful. Like, I hate this place. You know, it's the first thing we hear in the movie, in the franchise, and that's the first line of the song. And he nailed it. He also is the one that I believe he cut the music video together, and I toss it on the disc because it's wonderful. He's going to launch that live on September 15th. So whenever this episode goes up, look up Poltergeist OD CarousHELL, and you'll see a really sick video.
Oh damn! I was really gonna
And it's
look
going to be
for
on
it
Spotify. And it's going to
and
be on
send
Spotify.
it to
You can
everybody.
pre-save it. But he even name dropped Shingles, the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Anthony?
Wow. Yeah, I didn't catch that one. But I did catch the song at the end. I was like, oh, that's a rap song, because it was like, oh, you don't hear those a lot in horror movies. I was like that's the thing is I appreciate about the stuff that you do. It's like nothing is a tiny swing. It's like it's like if we're gonna take a swing, it's the big swing, and most of the time it's a hit. Which, I mean, you know, I can, like, there are some, you know, other movies that it's just like, maybe you shouldn't have done that, but like I've never had that feeling
I
like with
appreciate that a
these.
lot. And like, yeah, you say big swing. I mean, the post-credit scene of Carousel 3 is the most expensive single scene I've ever made for one of my movies, even though it's like a minute long. That took up a tenth of the budget of Carousel 3
Oh
by
wow.
itself. You know,
Damn.
between the talent and the time involved. And I do always joke about this. It's just like other indie horror guys, especially, would put like that money into a big scene in the middle of the movie. They would put their name actor cameo in the middle of the movie, even if they're only in a minute, so they can put their name above the poster and put them in the trailer and market that they're in the movie. And my big ticket, big swing of Carousel 3 is a post credits joke scene that most people on Tubi won't even ever see because Tubi skips it before it's over.
I mean, yeah, but it worked. It was a really good scene. It was really fun.
I appreciate that you say I do mostly hits. I try.
Yeah, it's like I haven't watched anything that I've been like I didn't like that, like, and there's been a few of those, and we don't like a few of those movies, and like well, we're just not going to do that, so we don't have to sit here and talk about how somebody's movie's crap,
Yeah,
kind of thing.
we appreciate that.
Yeah. But so with Shingles, it's basically more or less kind of like adult Goosebumps is
Yeah,
the
that's
feeling
the way
I
it was
get.
even pitched to me by the clients that hire me to do it, because it's the Authors and Dragons that have this book series called Shingles, which is an R-rated parody of Goosebumps. That is the intent. So yeah, if you were like, oh, I kind of want that 90s nostalgia, but I want it to be filthy, that's what Shingles is for.
Oh yeah, and with Shingles, like it does take on kind of like the similar character archetypes that you would be used to if you had watched the show back in the early '90s. Like you get the puppet, and you get, um, uh, just like these.
A wacky
What
alien
was
adventure.
Yeah, like what's the word I'm looking for? Like the objects, inanimate objects that become
Mhm.
alive, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Which I think that was a lot of the show right there.
Hmm.
And but it definitely does feel like it's kind of like your style of like storytelling and your style of humor. Like it does show through.
I mean, I'm glad because, like, obviously, it's different when you're directing someone else's idea. Never mind directing someone else's entire screenplay as well. This was the first time I directed something that I didn't write. I've been hired by clients before, but usually the client hires me to also write the idea and then direct it. This was the first time where it was a group of book authors that said, "Hey, we already adapted our books into a screenplay. We want to hire you to produce and direct this." And like the level of compromise that was already from the book to the script, and then the level of compromise that was definitely going to be happening from the script to me, and then from me to the actors, there was a lot of stuff to keep in mind. How much of it is going to stay their style, how much of this film needs to stay my style, and then at what points are our styles really going to mesh really well. And yeah, I whenever people buy Shingles, I generally say like, hey, just to let you know, I didn't write this one, but it still feels like one of my movies, and I do feel that I was able to deliver on that.
But yeah, you definitely did, and the like it was just like the small moments. How you have like the what's her name, the one of the Cooter Scouts, the
Buick.
Buick, yeah.
Yeah.
How she's just inappropriate, but at the same time, she's completely oblivious of the fact that she is inappropriate. It's really fun.
Yes, everyone loves Buick for good reason. I think that the character's fun on paper, which was very similar to the character that was in the book, Just Say Gnome. And then Jenny Hoppus was like the one of the quickest casting choices we made on this film because she nailed it on the audition. She literally wore plaid and overalls, which, I'm never telling an actor to dress for the part ever. It has never affected my decision, but I can still see the enthusiasm she had to play this horrible, terrible life child.
Damn.
So like with Shingles, how much so you get the script, like how much of the like say so do you get in like what direction you take this script after you get it?
So there's definitely that back and forth. Fortunately they were very open and like willing to actually listen to what I had to say. I mean, they outright said, "We're coming to you because we don't know how to make a movie. You have made all of these movies, so you know what to do." So they were to trust me on stuff. Like, for example, the end story with the zombies coming back. In the script, which was from the book, there was two twin employees of the store that flirted with the kid, and also zombies broke through the glass window. So during one of our pre-production meetings, one of the early ones after I first read the script and was making a budget based on it, said to them like, "Hey guys, so here's the deal. If you really want me to take the weeks and spend the amount of money that it will cost to hire a pair of gorgeous twins to be in this schlock, I will. Or we could do the exact same joke with one fine actress, and she just gets a day rate, and I don't have to go through some specialty agency. Also, if you want to break a window, this is a $3,000 effect, because we're going to have to take out the real window, install the fake window, break the fake window, and then reinstall the real window. And those guys usually charge by the hour. Or could we just not do that?" They listened to me 99 times out of 100. One of my other ideas was like the hot dog waiter in the script. In the script, he's supposed to be very enthusiastic, like he is this like complete pervert. I pitched to the authors as like, hey, I think it'd be really funny. Like, I don't want to change the lines. I don't want to change like the gag of the restaurant, but I think it'd be really funny if this guy fucking hates his job, but has to read from this corporate script. But then there's other stuff where they're like, no, it has to be gnome jizz. Robert Bevan, that you crazy son of a bitch, that was his line in the sand. I had to have the gnome jizz in the movie. Some of the gags, some of the jokes. Most of the changes were from a practical budget standpoint, but obviously there's a few gags that I changed. Like, all the kids were supposed to be 12, and I said to the authors, I'm not going to make this movie with 4 12-year-olds saying the things that they're going to be saying, being around the things they're going to be around. I don't feel comfortable with that, and also working with actual children would be a nightmare. They need to be 16 so I can cast adults. Or there's a couple more like racial jokes in the script, and I understood it was satire. These aren't racists writing these, but they just were too far for me. So I was like, we're cutting this. We're like, I don't feel comfortable with this sort of thing. And then I've said this in a couple other podcasts, but I always think it's just my funny prank. Those guys all hate Zack Snyder, so I snuck 2 positive Zack Snyder's jokes into the final cut that they can't change.
Yeah, I have seen that kind of like that Zack Snyder, like you're either like a Zack Snyder lover or you're a Zack Snyder hater, and it's just like all of a sudden it enrages an internet war as soon as you say anything at all. It's truly entertaining.
It's insane. Like I have never said a negative thing about other movies. I've never attacked a person. I've never been toxic about liking Zack Snyder. But I swear, if I just say, yeah, I kind of like Batman v Superman, I get sent death threats almost instantly. And not to say there's no Zack Snyder fans that don't do that too. I'm commenting on how quick it happens.
Oh yeah. Which the hot dog scene, I did find that to be funny, and I think it is funnier by the fact that he's just over it, because like he probably was really excited that he gets to say all this the stuff that you're not supposed to say at his job, and then after like the 50th time, it's like, I go to work, I say these things, I go home.
Yeah,
the money's green.
I'm glad it came off that way. It's one of my favorite kind of gags in the movie.
But yeah, I kind of thought I was like creating a story in my head, but I think it comes off very much like that.
Good.
But yeah, like it is. I mean, like I kind of said before we started, like I wasn't really like a huge Goosebumps fan, but I almost like, because I think I can count the number of episodes I've actually watched on my hand, but like it does have all those feels, while at the same time venturing off in its own direction, which I think is the best part about it. It goes from spoof into like satire kind of thing.
I super appreciate those kind words. I mean, that was definitely, I also was inspired by Are You Afraid of the Dark, in the sense, not that I would ever reach the quality of Are You Afraid of the Dark, but like even in these like silly stories that are clearly meant to be campy and what have you, there's still like those actual, like, this shot in a serious film would be terrifying, or like the way this character reacting if this was in a serious film would be very legitimate. To take that sorts of things to give the story some sense of earnestness, in my opinion, if that's the right word I'm trying to use. And then it's the little things like the whole intro of the movie, that the homage to the Goosebumps opening was 100% my idea, because I was just thinking as a producer, like, how do I sell this to a random 30-year-old that just found the poster on Tubi? How do I like deliver the idea of what this is meant to be in the first minute? Got it. And so I did that without the Authors and Dragons even knowing. And when they first saw that, they lost their minds. They were so happy with how it turned out. And I think it really, again, sets it up to have that 90s nostalgia feel without just being 90s nostalgia. It's still something new and fresh and modern in that gross comedy aspect.
Oh, yeah. And, like now that, because I did see that you put on your is either Facebook or Instagram that this is kind of like the like CarousHELL and all of these are sort of like the end of a chapter for you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, do you have you thought about where you're heading? Like, if there is anything you can divulge as far as that?
Well, I will say to one point, I'm not thinking too far ahead because I just finished Carousel 3. I'm going to keep riding the wave of enjoyment for a while.
Relaxing.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, Aline and I actually have been developing a fun idea for something original again. Next year or the year after potentially, and it's again, like, I don't want to throw away CarousHELL. I'm not putting it in the trash or anything like that. But like, since a Meowie Halloween in 2018, I have just been making sequels and adaptations ever since.
Mhm.
And like, don't get me wrong, Shingles is original for me. Like, that's an original project for me that isn't a sequel or building off of something I already made, but it is still an adaptation. So, the reason why Carousel 3 kind of feels like an end of a chapter is it's been part of our careers since 2014, again, when we first wrote the first script, and here we are nearly a decade later. Even if I do another film release next year, that'll be 10 years after we first came up with this crazy idea. It's been around almost as long as we have. And I lost my train of thought.
Oh, you're good. Take your time.
But it feels like the end of a chapter because it's the end of the CarousHELL story, and also, again, like, sequel, adaptation, sequel. So if we do start the next chapter 4 in the Silver Spotlight films, universe, multiverse, Aline and I we wanted to do an original idea, but we weren't sure what. We had a few at first, but now we have something we really like. We did say it in the Silver Spotlight Films Discord, which you can get into if you subscribe to Steve Buster, the $4.99 a month tier. But I'm not going to say it here yet because I want to make sure we actually have something solid before we start talking about it. It would be like a CarousHELL level budget, but it would be very different. At the same time, very familiar. I will say it is in the Christmas genre, but it isn't another rom-com like Amityville was.
Sorry, Brian, go ahead.
I was about to say, since you brought up budget, I remember the first time we spoke and we talked about CarousHELL 1, and you said the majority of the budget went on the unicorn Duke, right? So, did you get a discount on Usagi? Did you go to the same place? Did you still have to spend so much money on Usagi like you did Duke?
No, Usagi was a happy accident. So a lot of goddamn shows will be like, or reviews or anything will be like, oh, I bet they just had a carousel horse and wrote a movie around it. And absolutely not. We came up with the carousel unicorn idea, and then we had to buy Duke. I think we talked about that on the last show.
Yeah.
But with Usagi, we just wrapped shooting CarousHELL 2. CarousHELL 2 was in editing. I was doing a Marvel gig as Spider-Man in another state, and Aline calls me and says, hey, there's an estate sale of a guy that collected carousel animals. Do you want me to go? I'm like, why'd you even ask me that? Yes, go right now. Like, you get whatever you can get. And she went
that buff-ass rabbit.
And found that buff-ass rabbit for $150. So
damn.
She immediately bought Usagi. We brought her home, and she had been sitting in our basement since 2021. So we always knew that was going to be the lead object, even before we had the story really pinned down. But then we were able to turn a lot of fun from it too, like making it the Peeps colors, making Aline giving the serpent eyes instead of being all black like I originally pitched. Just like little things that really made her unique and different. But we did just fall into that by chance. That's
awesome.
Carousel Rabbit was not on paper at any point prior to finding her.
You just knew.
That's awesome. But no, sorry. Do you have anything, Brian?
No, I think that he went over one of them already.
Oh, okay.
With the working ons.
Yeah. So
working on relaxing.
We always ask. I think we were doing this last time we talked. Is there anything that you would suggest for us to watch?
And we will watch.
Have you ever seen the film starring Penn Jillette called Director's Cut?
Never heard of it.
It is wonderful. If you're a fan of filmmaking or are a filmmaker yourself, it is filled with so many jokes that only a person like us would understand. Because the very, very basic concept is that there's this movie that's getting made that got crowdfunded, and one of the crowdfunders is an insane person that recuts the movie as his director's cut because he thought it was his movie with new footage that he shot and changing the scenes and stuff. And that's all I'm going to fucking say.
All right.
It sounds pretty good.
It's fantastic. I showed it to a couple friends that also had never heard of it just last week, and like my buddy Seth, his response was like, I am shocked that I've never even heard of this because it was so good. And then I remembered horror fans wouldn't like it because there's no fucking killing in it. It's like
that kind of
yeah, because it was released by like Dread Central. They were the only distributor that picked it up, and it is a horror film, but it's just hilarious and weird and at times terrifying.
That what was it? That reminds me. I forget the name of the movie. I don't think it was like a major theater movie. It was a Robert De Niro movie where he plays like a producer, like a major film producer, and they're at like a film festival like Cannes or something. And the director that he had for this action movie like puts together his own ending for the movie without telling Robert De Niro, and like adds in this whole thing like where everybody dies and they shoot the dog and the dog dies too.
Jeez.
Oh yes, yeah. Now I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, like I watched that movie like that, and that's like the first 20 minutes of the movie. I was like, what the hell? It's like it started off at 10,
which is fantastic. I love when films do that.
Good God.
But that one, I forget the name of it, but that was such a like I enjoyed that movie a lot. And it's kind of similar to what you were mentioning. But Brian, go ahead.
No, I was like,
anything else on your list?
Yeah. Right, that's why I'm looking over here to my notes and everything.
Would you like more Detective Duck or Radical Rat?
Radical Rat.
Yeah. I feel like
we didn't get to see Detective Duck that much. He was instantly...
That's fair. Well, that's why you need to watch Rye Hard.
Oh, Rye Hard.
Okay, yeah.
It's all about her. Man, I had some dude email me because Mel Heflin. Helfin? Oh, goodness. Sorry, Mel. I actually have never realized. I spelled it correct in the credits, and that's what matters. Anyway, Mel is a wonderful scream queen. You know, like she's been in a lot of stuff. She's super talented. And some motherfucker emailed me saying, like, "Hey, are you selling the Detective Duck costume that Mel's gonna be wearing? I'm willing to fund a lot of the movie if you are."
Jesus, you're like, we are. Hold
Mel
on.
Mel was never on set,
dude.
I should have said yes. We'll sell it for $5,000, but like Mel never wore that suit. I was, someone else was in that suit. Yeah.
You should have just gone in there and wore it, and then be like, yes, and then they just email you. It smells so good.
We love the suit too much. We're gonna use that fucking duck again somewhere.
God, the creepiness we had. Oh, I don't even want to say it. Never mind. We'll say it after we stop recording.
Oh, let me ask you this too, because I've heard nothing but good so far. But since you guys actually appreciate the story, do you think that the two protagonist-centric stories with multiple endings worked well enough in the film? Like, was that understandable?
I think it was.
Yeah, I didn't think the first one. Sorry, the first one, how it ended, I was like, what? Like, it kind of took a second. Because like you think you're just like, dude, Joe wouldn't do that. And then you start thinking like, I mean, he is upset and everything like that, So then it took a second to, let it digest that, Joe's not the fun loving guy from number one anymore. Now he's upset. And so since he is upset, this is what's going to happen, So after you finally realize that, because you're always rooting for Joe, it sucked when you played the replay of him being murked. I was like, no, I remember that from the first one.
Really good
that was sad. But, yeah, so after the first one, it was a big, big shock. And you're like, Joe wouldn't do it. Then you're just like, oh, wait, fuck, yeah, he would. All right. But no, it was good.
No, it was that, like, we talked to who was it? When we talked to L.C. Holt, and he talks about the reason why he loved like Asian ghost movies so much, and how it's just that the ghost doesn't have a motivation, it doesn't have a reason, it's just pissed off, and you're in its path, so it's go time right now. And like I kind of get the same, not exactly, but like it's just irrational anger. It's just I've been wronged, and I am going to get this out of me somehow. And like
he hit a tire with a sledgehammer.
Yeah,
he did. I was about to mention that too. That like, I mean, you can't even really count it as a montage because it seemed like it was like in real time. And then he even mentioned it. He's like, "Was that like a metaphor?" He's like, "No, I really did it." It's like, damn, he really did. I got it.
Yeah, when that happened, I was like, wow, like this movie really did like go for some big moments that like you're like, where are they going to go from here?
Oh, thank you.
Like that's I in my head I was like, it's like that's awesome, but it's like, what's going to happen now? It's like we still got. I was like press the button. I was like, there's like 20 minutes left. What are we going to do here?
Well, so long as you were caught off guard and the surprises were good.
Yes.
Oh yeah,
that's what matters.
Definitely. Yeah, I wasn't sitting there like I think I've mentioned it before. Like the worst sin is the one where I'm calling the movie 15 minutes ahead of itself, and I'm sitting there just sports casting in my head, kind of, instead of just receiving.
And at no point where you're like, this is where Joe's going to have a wrestling sequence.
Yeah, no,
God, no.
That was very entertaining.
Right.
Which that was really cool. Like it didn't like, it felt like, wait, what? But like it was like a good like, okay, like that I'm ready.
Yeah, we say once quietly that she found him at a wrestling school, so there is a logical reason.
Yeah.
But like the real world reason is like, I wanted to homage that Ben Affleck Batman warehouse scene. When Batman goes to stay with Martha. I don't have the budget to hire the stunt guys or the effects to do that. What can I do? Oh, I know some pro wrestling because of the Spider-Man stuff, and I know several pro wrestlers, including the guy playing Ben. Let's make this happen, so that way Joe can fight 5 people in a way that will keep me safe, but still potentially look visually cool and fun.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So
it's good fight scenes.
Yeah, like, because that was the thing I was going to ask was, like, in those scenes, was there ever a moment where it was like I don't know what I'm getting into kind of thing? Because I know with pro wrestling, like, it's a very specific skill set where you do the move in such a way to keep yourself and the other person safe while you're doing it.
Yeah, I mean, there was nothing that was too far because, all those folks, all those wrestlers were amazing, and they took really good care of me and, like, very specifically described what I had to do. And, they were the experts, and I respect the hell out of them. They were all wonderful. But like I did say to them, because of the Spider-Man stuff, I'm not coming into this with like zero knowledge. Between movie stunt work and like the arena fight scenes that we always do, I am taking bumps. We're doing wrestling moves. We're just doing them in a different way than what you guys do in the ring. So if you explain it to me, I'll get it because I already am doing it. I just need to rework how I do it in the ring. And maybe they were kissing my butt because I was paying them, but several times they were like, okay, no, you actually picked that up really quick. So we were able to get through the scene relatively fast that day. The one part that was, what did I get myself into, was when I dropped down into the ring. You might not be able to tell from that shot because PB Smooth is 6'9" in real life and he's in the foreground.
Damn.
But like that cubby hole that I'm jumping out of is at least 15 feet above the ring.
Good God.
And there's a gap between the wall and the ring. And where I was like up at, like the ceiling was where my head is in my camera. Like I had like maybe 2 inches above my head from where I was jumping. But I really wanted that Batman drop from the rafters idea. So I was like, I'm doing it. But that was terrifying because I needed to like somehow get forward momentum enough just to make it into the ring. It didn't have to look pretty, but like if I go too high, I'm going to hit my head and I might get injured. And if I don't go far enough, I could fall between the ring and the wall and really like hurt my ankles or my legs. But I did it.
And then you won.
Yes.
And then you whooped all their asses. Yes.
Yeah. Go ahead, Brian.
No, it was fun, man.
Thank
it was
you.
fun.
Definitely. Yeah, I think. Yeah.
I think
Oh,
your handles now.
handles. Yeah. Like,
Where
is
can
there
people
any?
find you again?
Right.
Brian should ask this question. When I ask, it sounds like, where can people find you at the grocery store?
Right.
So yeah, my physical store is silverspotlightfilms.com. You can pick up Blu-rays, DVDs, the deck building games, posters. In early 2024, I'm going to do a CarousHELL trilogy vinyl release, but that's going to be pre-order only, so that I don't have a stock of vinyls in my house forever.
It says Silver Spotlight
Films.
builds or films.
Films.com. If you aren't a physical kind of person, you can find all my films digitally at stevebuster.com, like Blockbuster. For $2.99, you get all of my modern film library, permanent access. You can keep them if you want, plus a couple exclusives. And then for the $4.99, you get all the other bonus features, a whole bunch of exclusives that are only on the service. Movies I don't distribute anymore that I made when I was a teenager that make me want to hurt myself when I watch them, but the fans wanted them. And then Discord access if you want to come hang out with us, watch movies together, nothing major. If you can't do that stuff, if you're low on funds, I get it. All of my movies, except for Carousel 3, are on Tubi TV, a free-to-use streaming service that just has ads. Don't use ad blocker, you son of a bitch. Yes, I'm talking to you, Jerry.
Damn it, Jerry.
I didn't know you could do that.
Yeah, if you watch it through a browser.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would...
Right,
It's literally, it costs nothing. It's literally the least you can do. And still these motherfuckers won't do it. God damn it. I worked for hundreds of hours to deliver you this sentient unicorn. The least you can do is watch an ad about goddamn Ben Gay.
Yes. That's what Janeth and I, we always joke that hopefully our first sponsor will be like, you guys need to do sponsors for like, male growth hormones. And we'll be like, all right, here we go. And then we're going to have some messed up advertisements.
I am on Twitter. It is still Twitter in my head, at Steve Rudzinski. And if you just like to see a more casual look into my life, I'm on Instagram where I post movie behind the scenes, movie screenshots, but also my cosplay and my pets. I'm on Instagram at Dark Mullet.
Nice. Thank you for talking to us.
Thank you so much for having me on. Brian, your enthusiasm is always off the walls, and I love it. And Anthony, I really appreciate your questions and your more in-depth analysis of my storytelling. I'll come back to the show anytime you want me to.
Oh, yeah. Thank you for listening to this podcast. This podcast is available on all major podcast networks and YouTube. If you like what you're hearing, please follow, like, and subscribe on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook.